All right, we'll go back to the phones in a moment, but first, the Shanahan that we promised you. So here's Kyle. This is fresh sound from his conference call last hour. Starting with this, the good and the bad from Trey Lance after he watched the tape.
I thought he played a lot better as it ended. He came out, first play was tough. The corner just keyed his three-step drop and sat on it and did the right thing. He reset to go to the tight end over the ball, but we had a bust. One of our eligibles busted on the play and put two guys in the same spot, so he had to protect the ball and take a sack there. Another sack on the 3rd and 8 wasn't his fault. We kind of had a jailbreak on it, but the 2 ones after that, I thought he could have gotten rid of it a little before the sack. And a couple things, he just hesitated on a hair early in the game. But as it went, I think he made a huge 3rd down on the 3rd and 8. I think it was to Conley. Made a very decisive 1 and 2 minute that got us down there to Troy, and ended up doing some good things. I wish we would have converted that short yardage and kept him out there a little bit longer, but that's some of the frustrating things about preseason.
Okay, so I don't know. What do you hear there? I mean, I think they're going to try to speak to and about Trey in as soft of a way as possible for multiple reasons. He's right. A couple nice throws to Chris Conley, but at least he did admit the big issue here is there's just the word is hesitation, and you can't do that in the NFL.
And you especially can't do that in his offense,
right,
because everything has to be timed to perfection to be run at optimum. And so, I thought the explanation was interesting because it on the first 2 sacks, that was the big thing that stood out, because in watching the game live, I thought, oh wow, those are on
Trey.
I thought they were not on Trey.
Oh,
watching him, going back and watching, I'm like, oh, he had receivers open and he did, and he held onto the ball too long. Kyle saying no. I thought later on it was more not on him. And then he's saying the 2 later on were the first. That's fine, but that's fine. I'll take him at his word on that.
Well, he's looking at the all-22. I look at it this way in much more simplistic NFL fan terms, and this is what we talked about in the crossover. He doesn't look comfortable.
No. Well,
the biggest difference between Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, and Brandon Allen yesterday, I don't care who's on the field with you, second stringers, third stringers, or eighth stringers. 2 of the guys looked like their feet were fine, and they were comfortable in an NFL game, and one of them didn't.
Correct. And I also think we all have to ask ourselves the question as it relates to what are we all evaluating? What are the 49ers evaluating? What are we evaluating as fans? I think we have to make sure we're asking and answering the right question. And the question is, who should the backup quarterback be? Who's playing better between Trey Lance and Sam Darnold to win the backup quarterback job? Now, there's another question maybe that comes if that's not Trey that ends up being the 2, but I think that's I try to keep things linearly, laserly focused on the task at hand.
Well, I think that's really important right now, and I think that I almost wish you should slow down and say that again, because the question was posed to us right before we went to break, which is, with all of the history, this is what I heard, with all the history of these 2 players, why would you consider Sam over Trey? And what he means by that is, with Trey's draft status being what it is, and his skill set with what it's supposed to be, combined with Sam Darnold's repeated attempts in the NFL that have not worked, why on earth would you put Sam ahead of Trey? He sort of said it in a way of like, why would you keep one and not the other? And again, you and I both think right now we're still tracking at a spot where you're going to keep both. One of them's going to be the 3.
Yeah, right now I'd keep both, and Trey would be the 3.
As would I, right now. But
it's still close.
It's close, but you got it. I don't want to say dumb this down. Simplify this.
Yes.
Stop thinking about when people were drafted and what you saw someone do in a Jet uniform.
Right. And about Trey being a star with the Niners down at some point.
You're contextually imagining something. Simply ask yourself the question Kyle's asking. If my guy goes down and I need someone else to win tomorrow, who's got a better chance of doing it? Block all the other stuff out because it's noise. And I think right now, that seems like a rather obvious answer. And I don't say that because Sam has sparkled. I say that because now that we watch Trey Lance, and everything we've known about him up to this point, He's not ready. He just doesn't look. I don't know if he's ever going to be ready, but he's not now.
Say what you want about Sam Darnold and what he hasn't done in the NFL as a number 3 pick himself. He's also started 55 freaking games.
Correct.
And I know his record isn't good, and he's turned the ball over a lot in a lot of those games and been a big part of the reason why his team has lost. He's also been on some bad teams. But the ability to go out there and take the ball for 3+ full seasons in his career is not something that, that's not something that counts against him at this point.
Especially not as a backup.
That does not count against him.
There's a whole new prism now through which to watch Sam Darnold, because in his previous stop, or his 2 stops ago, he was Trey Lance.
Yes.
He was the big future. And then he goes to Carolina in a spot where it's like, look, like you might be our starter. There's a maybe. You're going to battle this out and kind of figure out. Like, he's coming here.
Didn't win the job, which was a little alarming.
But by the end of the year, looked like the better of the 2. But then you get to this, and it's like, again, everybody should remind themselves this twice a day before you pull your hair out or go red in the face or whatever. We're all having a conversation about who's the 2.
Yes.
There is not. Stop bringing Brock Purdy into this. Whether he threw 4 picks in practice or whatever.
It's just not. It's just not relevant.
It doesn't
right
matter.
now.
It's irrelevant. He is your guy. He's your guy. And if he doesn't get hurt, we're all wasting our breath over who's the 2.
Correct.
Because the only action the 2 is going to get is when they're ahead of the Rams by 28. That's it. Yeah, I'm hoping. All right.
But again, the 55 games that Darnold has played, that's an advantage for Darnold, because Trey, part of his problem right now is lack of playing time. It's indecisiveness. It's inexperience. It's the need to get more reps. Well, a guy that you want to plug and play as your backup on a Super Bowl contender is not somebody who has started 4 games. You want somebody that's comfortable, price of admission in the Kyle Shanahan offense, that's going to do the basics and keep the line moving with all this other talent they have around him to keep your season alive.
Okay, I think Dave in Oakland has a question about your assertion. Hey, Dave. You're on Willard and JD. What's up?
Yeah, hey, I agree with you guys, and I come into this being a huge Trey fan and was really hoping until yesterday that there was something there. But I did want to, I was sort of curious when JD says that Darnold gets credit for starting 55 games. He started 55 games on terrible teams and played terribly, so I'm having a hard time seeing why that's a positive. Because
he's also put good tape on. He hasn't played terribly in every single one of those games. Sam Darnold's got, at this point, exponentially more good tape than Trey Lance does. Because, even with all the bad tape, he's got more good tape than Trey Lance does. And if you go with what Kyle Shanahan had said at the beginning of training camp, the reason Brock Purdy is their guy is because he has all this good tape ahead of, in their system,
right,
which puts him ahead of these other quarterbacks. Well, I tried to decipher from that what it meant to the backup job, and that's where I say, hey, he's got a lot of good tape on stuff Darnold's done that he thinks he could probably correct some of the bad tape.
I mean, take a look around the league and look at what most NFL teams do. There's a reason that guys like who's backing up Mahomes this year? I don't even know. You know what I mean? I don't even know who's backing up Mahomes.
They just changed.
It's not Chad Henne anymore?
It's Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah.
It's Blaine Gabbert. Blaine Gabbert's a great example. So is Henne. So is everybody who always backs up Patrick Mahomes. It's just some dude who has proven time and again that he cannot be a 1. Why do the Chiefs sign him? Because they figure, you know what? It might happen once, maybe twice this year, that we need someone to go out there and win a game for us. That's it. We just need someone to win a game. What do we want? Someone who's been around the block. Blaine Gabbert. That's who the Chiefs have entrusted to back up Patrick freaking Mahomes. Blaine Gabbert. Somebody this fan base knows damn well ain't the dude.
Right.
He ain't the dude. What does he offer? 13 years in the league. And yes, most of the tape is bad, but all they're asking for is, hey, could you beat the Raiders on a Thursday night in November when Patty turns an ankle? That's all they want.
It. Can you beat the Rams in week 2 if
right.
something happens to Brock week 1 at Pittsburgh? You know,
I agree with you. I think experience in a situation like that through that prism, that can only be a good thing.
And I also think they look at Darnold's tape and think, okay, there's been a lot of bad, but we can fix some of that.
Right.
And make it less bad. And there's a skill set that he has in this offense to where he can be significantly better. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to be a star or Steve Young or any of that stuff. I don't remember Shanahan got in trouble with that. I know you guys talked about that. Yes. But it doesn't, we don't have to go to that extreme. I think we always want to live in these extremes. Like oh, Darnold, he brings in Darnold because he thinks he can make Darnold Steve Young. No, it isn't about that. It's can Darnold be somebody that can help you win a few games here or there?
They're trying to remind you in a bunch of different ways. They're trying. It doesn't work, and I know it's not going to work. The only way it's going to work is if Brock goes out and 10 weeks into the season, the Niners are 7-3 or better. Then it'll work. But I've listened to the 49ers, both Lynch and Shanahan. They're trying to be subtle about it for two very specific reasons. I don't think they want to squash all things related to Trey Lance, and I think they don't want to put too much pressure on Brock Purdy. But they are subtly telling you, we've got our guy. We got our guy.
Mm-hmm.
This is not like, we're going to check him out for September, see how we're doing. That is not the way they're thinking. You can argue with it. You don't have to like it. But that's what's going on inside the 49er organization. They watched him go 8-0. Then they went back. Kyle talked about this earlier. Then they went back, took a break, went back and watched the tape, and they came away even more impressed by what happened.
And it's not like anything he did in the Philly game caused him to lose.
No.
So there isn't even that. Like, that could have been he was terrible in the NFC Championship game. Like, that would have been something that you could have,
no, he's good in the playoffs.
But he never even did anything enough in that game because he got hurt so quick that it didn't matter.
So they decided that's their guy. That's their guy. So, if Kyle Shanahan truly believed that Sam Darnold was Steve Young, then Sam Darnold would be competing to be QB1 right now. But he's not.
Why do you think? Because and part of this is I have an expectation that maybe I shouldn't have from time to time. But why do you think there are still so many people, so many 49er fans who believe that Trey's competing for the 1 spot? Or that going into this thing, Trey was competing for the 1? Like that was the competition.
It's kind of just, it's a matter of habit and fame is the way that I would say it. Habit meaning when someone's drafted number 3 overall with 3 years of first-round draft capital, it's just an automatic. A team is supposed to be all in on that person. Plus, the reason I use the word fame is because Trey Lance is easily the most famous backup in the league, and I don't even know if he's a 2.
Well, he's the most famous quarterback on the 49ers roster.
No doubt. But if he ends up the 3, he's the most famous 3 in the history of the league. As I said, I just needed the computer to even find out who's competing to be Patrick Mahomes' backup. But here in the 49er land, we talk about, you all know who QB4 is. Diehard Chiefs fans don't know who's backing up. They don't care who's backing up Patrick Mahomes. And I know that Purdy is not a star yet. I get that. He's only played 8 games. But that's how I'd answer your question. There's a very slow pace to people processing what has happened and how the 49ers truly feel about it.
How could anybody, I find myself wrestling with this, how could anybody, given the way Brock Purdy played, think if Brock Purdy is healthy that Brock Purdy wouldn't be the starting quarterback at the beginning? Now, maybe he's bad. Maybe he gets hurt.
I don't know.
Maybe we're having a different conversation in the middle of this upcoming season because of his play. But going into it, it's like, Brock, great job those 8 games and the playoff games and all that. But we're going back to Trey.
No, it's ridiculous. Can you imagine what the locker room would say? It's absurd. But I do think
But
there's
a
a dynamic.
lot of people did think that.
Okay, but let's say you tell your kids that you're going to Disneyland. Like you're down in L.A. and you're like, you know what, we're going to Disneyland tomorrow, and then they wake up the next morning and you're like, actually, it was a little cold outside. We're just going to go to a movie. That's kind of what happened to a lot of 49er fans, and I think that they're grasping onto the excitement that was built, right? Trey area. Like they're grasping onto that excitement and they won't let go. They feel like they've been promised something that then got yanked away from them before they had an opportunity to get a look. So I get that, but yeah, slow on the uptake as far as the reality of this situation, for sure. So here's more from Shanahan. Oh, on that touchdown pass, here's what Kyle had to say.
Oh, it was scary, a lot of it, but I totally saw what you saw. I mean, the middle third safety cut the low cross, and then there's a guy going behind him. And what I like is he didn't react, and he saw a hole and tried to rip it. And there was some guy coming from the backside that he didn't see, but it wasn't a gun-shy throw. Those are things you learn from. I kind of like seeing him trying to make that play, regardless of the result. And obviously, we got a little bit lucky. It ended up being a good result, and I wouldn't have been happy if it was a pick, but I can understand what he saw rolling out to the left. Usually when a middle third player cuts a route, someone's vacated in the middle third, and that corner was hesitant to get there, and so Trey didn't see him, and he let her rip, and those are things I want to see more of them. I mean, not picks and bad decisions, but just playing a little bit faster, a little bit more aggressive, and I think that was one that he did that on, but also the other ones that I mentioned it on that weren't just lucky, they ended up being good.
Okay, you know what I felt was the most important thing out of that 46 seconds? That's what I want to see, play a little bit faster and more aggressive.
All right.
Which, again, yes, it worked out, even though it didn't work out.
He's trying to turn a negative play into a positive.
Well, what he's saying is stop hesitating, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, let it rip. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but at least let it rip. I mean, I think it speaks to what a lot of us have been saying. Yeah, that you talked about the timing of a Kyle Shanahan offense. It's imperative, and you can't do it if you hesitate. And every evaluation of Trey Lance right now is that he's holding on to the ball too long. Can't do it.
Can't do it.
It's a total no. Kevin in Sunnyvale. Hey, Kevin, you're on with Willard and JD. What's up?
What's up, man? So I was thinking about, you know Brock Purdy got a job, like you were saying, but I don't even think Trey Lance is going to be the number 2. But however, what do you see him as maybe like a Swiss Army knife guy, 3rd and 2, maybe like open up the lane off the play action, like something like that. What do you guys think about kind of just inserting him? I'm thinking, hey, you're gonna do this, have one play in mind for him, like every once in a while. What do you think they'll play with that possibility?
I don't, and Kevin, just personally, I'd be against the idea for multiple reasons. The first 2 that come to mind are this: Trey Lance did have a package set up for him his rookie year. They tried it the first few weeks, even though there was a touchdown in Detroit and whatnot. Kyle Shanahan admitted that he didn't like it. He didn't like it because it took too much time away, both in practice and the game, too much confusion over which playbook we were doing, personnel. He felt like it slowed the 49ers down.
Yeah, he said it screwed up his ability to call plays the way he wants to call plays.
Second reason, and this is the worst one for Trey. Second reason is he's not as fast as you think he is. So this whole idea of let's use him like Taysom Hill, here's a horrible reality. He's slower than Taysom Hill. He's slower than Taysom freaking Hill. So
he's not a zone read quarterback.
No, this whole 3rd and 2, let him do what Jalen Hurts does. They'll only get 1 yard and they'll punt. The way he looks right now.
Yeah.
So I'm like
he's okay at QB off tackle, although that's what got him hurt.
Yep.
So I don't know that you necessarily want to do that, but he is not like it. This is not the Kaepernick offense. Like he doesn't run the Kaepernick offense where he's beating people to the edge and taking it for 20 yards. That's not him.